are back for part 2 of our homeschooling series of the what, why, where, when, how, and who of homeschooling. If you missed the who of homeschooling, I would encourage you to go back and watch that. If this is your first time here and you like things like this, make sure you subscribe so that we can go on our homeschooling journey together. I am a homeschooling Christian, a mama of many, and I have been homeschooling for 9 years here on our grace-filled farm. So today we're going to talk about the why of homeschooling. We already know that you are the who of your homeschool, but why? Why should you be doing this? So why should you be putting your time into homeschooling your children when you could just put them on a bus and go about your day? This episode is for you. I get the question a lot as a homeschooling mom. Aren't you sheltering your children from the real world? Shouldn't they be out there in the real world learning all of the things? It's not that we are shielding our children from the world. It is that our children are in a greenhouse. If I'm a farmer, right? A very new farmer. Here on our little grace-filled farm, I am always growing that garden. And if I took my little seedlings, my little seedlings, and I threw them out in the harsh elements without preparing them properly, they would die. They would just shrivel up and die. And that's what a lot of us do with our children. We throw them out into the world when they are just little seedlings and it's too much for them. And a lot of these bad behaviors and children that just couldn't make it through the system properly and learn, children that were hyperactive, didn't pay attention in class, maybe they just had a different learning style. Maybe something bigger was behind the problem. It's because they need help. So our children are being put into a greenhouse. What we're doing in our greenhouse is we are shielding our children from the elements while we deepen their roots. As a homeschooling parent, I am teaching them the fundamentals of life. I am teaching them the moral compass that they should have. I am strengthening their roots, teaching them everything they need in life to succeed and do well. Before my children go out in the world, their roots are going to be deep, their trunks are going to be stiff, and they are going to be ready to walk out into the world and be strong and capable and fully prepared. It's not that we are keeping them in a bubble. We are keeping them in a greenhouse to make them strong for what lays ahead. I love the example I got out of Corrie ten Boom autobiography. Her and her father went on a train trip with a friend of her father's, and she overheard her father and the friend talking about a subject she didn't understand, an adult subject. And she asked her father after the friend had left, "Father, what does this mean?" And he paused for a second and contemplated her question. And then he stood up and he took their luggage from overhead and he brought it down. And he said, "Corrie, can you lift this bag?" And she tried with all her might. She was about 12 at the time, and she couldn't lift the bag. And he looked at her and he said, "Corrie," he said, "in the same way that you have to trust me to carry this bag for you right now, you can't know this information because it is too heavy for you. And one day you'll be able to carry it. But until then, you're going to have to trust me to carry it." And that's what we do as parents. Sometimes we carry things for our children. We teach them. We help them to learn and grow. And then when the time comes, we hand them the luggage and they are able to carry it confidently and without hurting themselves. And that is the greenhouse. Another big why of homeschooling is the sibling relationships. Oh my goodness, the sibling relationships. My children, I have 6 of them, they love each other. I have 6, 13 and under. They range from 3 to 13, and they are each other's best friends. Even when they have birthday parties, they don't particularly care that anyone else is there. They love people. My children will go to the playground and everyone is their friend. They know no strangers. My children love people, but they are satisfied with each other because they love each other. They're each other's best friends. They live life together. They do life together. I am creating opportunities, and I am very intentional about creating those sibling relationships. They play together, they work together, they build projects together, they are bonding together, and that is very powerful, and it is something that you can only get through homeschooling your children. It is a big why for me, is the love that I am creating for my children. Another big why of homeschooling is what I call passion-led learning. They will retain what they're interested in. So if your child is interested in cooking, well, then you leave room in your school for cooking. I have a child who is very interested in cooking. She has been since she was itty bitty. I could see that in her, and she's good at it. She's really good at it, and she wants to go to culinary school one day. I don't know if it'll stick or not, but it's definitely something I have listened to, and I am leaving room for that for her because it is important to her. I have another child that is deeply interested in electronics. He says he wants to be an electronical engineer, and because of that, we are taking more time for maths, for higher level maths, because he might end up needing that one day. So I make room for that for him. Whereas the child who wants to go to culinary school might not go as deep into calculus. I will make sure that my electronical engineer understands calculus. And that's another video, but don't get worried, Mama. You're sitting there going, I don't know calculus. Oh my goodness. Okay, we have to go to public school now, because that's what I say. But the thing is, whenever you have a 17-year-old boy one day who is interested in something, they are capable of figuring it out. When children are passionate about a subject, they will make a way for it. They will be self-led learners because they are interested in it. And it's that self-led learning when they are older that is powerful. And there are so many resources out there. So when you have an older child who is interested in a passion, they will figure it out. So passion-led learning is so important. If I were to set my poor daughter at that table and try to teach her, statistics whenever she wants to go to culinary school, this would be very daunting for her, and she'd probably resent it a little. And this is where you get a kid in school who's just not very interested, not paying attention, and they don't want to learn it, nor do they need to learn it, because it's not assisting their life in any way. My job as a parent is to feel out what my children's purpose is and to help guide them in it. So another why of why we homeschool. Another why of why we homeschool is it is a place of peace. As I said before, I believe it is my job as a mama to create a peaceful home, a home of love where I have created a platform for my children to learn confidently and securely in a safe place. So another why is that peaceful home. I believe children can learn better when they're not worried about, oh my goodness, how do I look? Is that bully looking at me wrong? Oh, I don't fit in with the cool kids today. My hair looks bad. I have a pimple on my nose. They're so worried about these consequences of this situation that they have trouble learning. And my children can show up in their jammies and be comfortable. They know that they are in a safe place and that they are able to learn in this really safe environment. And then to go off on another tangent, not that we make choices out of fear, because you should never make your choices out of fear, but schools aren't necessarily a physically safe place these days either. I never have to worry that my children are safe. They are in my home and they are very safe. Mama will die for those children. We talked about in our Who of Homeschooling video that you won't miss those beautiful aha moments. That is another why as well. When my children learn something new that they're excited about, when they have that aha moment, I don't miss it. There is no fear of missing out when you're a homeschool mom. And that is another why I feel incredibly blessed to not miss out on some of those really special moments in my children's education. Another why is, like we talked about with John Dewey, why our education system was really set up. And I want to quote H.L. Mencken. He says, "The plain fact is that education itself is a form of propaganda, a deliberate scheme to outfit the pupil not with the capacity to weigh out ideas, but with a simple appetite for gulping ideas that were ready-made for them. The aim is to make good citizens, which is to say, docile and unacquisitive citizens." We are teaching our children how to think, not just to accept the ideas that were spooned out to them, which you'll often find in public school. There's ideas that are spooned out to them and not free thinking, creative opportunity. Rockefeller, here's a quote from Rockefeller. If you didn't know, he was the creator of the General Education Board, and this is a quote from him. "I don't want a nation of thinkers. I want a nation of workers to do what they're told and not question why." This is another big why for homeschooling. I look at John Dewey, I look at Rockefeller, I look at some of these other founders of the public education system, and I know that there are a lot of good people within the public education system. I myself went to college to be a teacher. I know that there are people who love their students and love their classes. However, whenever I look at some of the creators of the public school system and how the public school system was set up, and I look at these quotes about how they were created to make good citizens who aren't free thinkers but just gulp down the ideas that are spoon-fed to them, I feel concerned, because these are the creators of the public education system, and they are saying they don't want my children to excel, they want my children to be good citizens. And I have to read those quotes and wonder why, and if I can do better. This is a big why for me. Another good why is you can tailor your child's education to your child. How does your child learn best? Are they a tactile learner? Do they like to touch the things and build the things? Are they a child that needs things drawn out for them? Are they a child who needs a pencil in their hand so they can write out all the things? How does your child learn best? There is a curriculum for you. Oh, trust me, there is a curriculum for you. There are so many. Maybe if your child loves to read, maybe they like to do math through Life of Fred, which is a math curriculum that is just, you read through it, and it's beautiful. There are so many. I know I had a little boy that whenever I remember a couple years back, when he is now 12, whenever he was about 8, we would do a math problem and he'd run a lap around the living room and kitchen because he had so much energy in him. He had to be moving. He had to be moving while he did math. And I would buy all of the little math manipulatives because he hated worksheets. He still does tedious little things where he has to do little things with his hands. He hates that. He hates workbooks. He hates worksheets, but he is very smart. And if you verbally tell him a problem and give him some blocks to demonstrate it for you, he will, and he will get the correct answer. But this is how he learns. And I often wonder, how would he do in public school? He is such an intelligent boy, but how would he do with worksheets in front of him? Oh my goodness, I can't imagine. So I have tailor-made my son's education for him. He is very smart. He is right on point. He can answer questions with the best of them, but he's not a worksheet person. He needs to move. He needs to use his hands, and he's my one that wants to be an electronical engineer, and I think he's going to do fantastic at it. He is a complex thinker. He is very able to take on complex problems, but in a different way than traditional public school would cater to him. So this is another reason that we homeschool, to tailor-make my children's education to them so that they learn best. How do your children learn best? What can you do to make your child succeed in life? Whenever your child graduates, you want them to be that lifelong learner that goes on to keep learning, to fulfill their passions, to understand life, how to function in the world, care for themselves, do well in it, entrepreneurship maybe. You want them to go on to higher thinking things, whatever that is for your child. But we are tailor-making that education so that your child can succeed, and not everybody fits in the box of a public education system. This is why we homeschool. All right, guys, that is why we homeschool. Make sure you subscribe if you want to hear the how, what, where, when of when we homeschool coming soon. And until next time, friends, bye.
Fly away to the sky, shining bright like a shine.